Hi, I'm Cassie, host of the Curiosity Junkie podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please hit the subscribe button to follow us and receive new episodes each week. If you really enjoy the podcast and you're feeling generous, please hit the donate button. We work hard to create original content and keep the podcast ad-free. Today's guest is here to talk about racism. Please welcome Mycheal Gamble to the podcast. Hi, Mycheal Gamble. Welcome to the Curiosity Junkie podcast.
Hello. So excited to be here with you.
I am so happy to have you on. We talk all the time because we work together, and we've just had so many great conversations that I wanted to have you on. Well, actually, you came up to me the other day and said, it's Black History Month. When are you going to have me on?
Yes.
And I said, how about this Thursday? So I wanted to start with and how you grew up, a little bit of like early life. You've had some interesting jobs. You've done some amazing things. And so I want to just kind of talk through your life as a Black woman, because it is different than my life as a white woman. So let's start with kind of how you grew up. What was it like growing up in your family?
Okay, so there were 6 of us. 4 girls, 2 boys, and then one of my cousins from Chicago ended up being raised with us. So in the Black culture, if there is a child that's having difficulty somewhere, the strongest sibling, like my father, would take that child and raise them, to give it more discipline or more direction. And so this cousin of ours lived in Chicago and got involved with gangs and had to come live with us in Michigan.
Right.
My father was very strict. Actually, he was a little OCD, so everything had to be perfect in our house. We'd iron his underwear because he was that. So, I grew up, my dad was a plasterer initially. He started as a plasterer. His father was a plasterer, and that was the trade in their family. But my dad was different. So he was the first Black to get a liquor license in the town I came from, actually in Michigan.
Wow.
And so he opened up a nightclub, and we, lived pretty good. And so I was raised in that kind of environment. We lived around all of our relatives. So my uncle lived down the street. His brother lived across the street. My aunt lived around the corner, and we were raised together.
That's awesome.
It was, you don't appreciate it when you're doing it, but you appreciate it as you get older. And so, my children's cousins, my sisters and I raised our children together. So we took each other's children every summer. They gave everyone a break. So we rotated them. So we really were very close. And there's 6 of us. We're all still living. We're all still connected. Some live in Georgia and some still live in Michigan. And of course, I live in Arizona. So I was kind of bad. Growing up, and I ended up getting kicked out of junior high school. I beat a girl up and I got kicked out and almost ended up in juvenile home. But because my dad was connected politically and he owned a business, he said he would take care of me. And so I ended up going to an all-white school. I got kicked out of my school and I ended up in an all-white school.
Wow. And so before, was it all Black or what?
We had 2 white families, another family with the same last name as ours, that was White Adams, and a Hollingsworth. Kathy Hollingsworth. She was in my class all the way through elementary school.
I love it.
Those were the white families that lived in our area. But if you know anything, so if you know about Michigan, you know about Michigan State and University of Michigan. Well, we lived in Lansing, which was connected to East Lansing, is where Michigan State was.
Okay.
So we have a very rich our elementary school still has reunions, and our junior high school just stopped having reunions.
Oh my
So
goodness.
every so many years, we all got back together.
That's fantastic.
And just amazing history.
Mm-hmm.
We all live, we are still very connected. I'm still connected to my 4-year-old girl. She was 4 and I was 4. We went to high school together, junior high school together, still very connected.
That's a wonderful thing, I think, to grow up knowing you have support and something larger than the family. It's like a community of people. I don't care what color you are. That is a powerful way to grow up.
Yes. Yes. And it instills principles in you and values in you. So remember, well, you don't know, but I grew up, I was in the NAACP. I was a junior representative. I ended up going to New Jersey as a representative from Michigan to the national conference. And I can remember walking home from a meeting when Martin Luther King got killed.
Wow.
And I can remember tearing up. It was undescribable.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Undescribable.
Yeah, especially since you were active.
Yes, it was
change.
Horrific. I mean, even the riots from the town, we had riots. And I decided then to become a police officer.
Oh my goodness. How old were you when you came to that?
8th grade.
8th grade. Okay. You're like, all right, 8th grade. I'm going to be a police officer.
Yeah.
And what
my uncle got murdered.
Oh.
By the police.
Wow.
And I decided that they all can't be bad. So I'm going to be one, and I'm going to be a good one.
Yeah.
That didn't work out so well. That didn't work out. I went into the junior cadets, and at that time, you did dog licensing. The junior cadets, they would go to homes and find out if you had a dog, and they would license the dog.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It was something else. And there was a female at the time, an older woman who was a detective. And I just was like, oh my God, I can do that. I can be that. Yeah, well, yeah, that didn't happen. Anyway.
All right. So tell me why. Like, what happens? What makes someone, I mean, you're a kid and you're like, I want to make change. I want it to be a positive thing when people look at police. And probably you were thinking, as people of color, I want to change the way the police interact.
Yes, that was my whole. I'm in the 8th grade. My uncle, who was one of my favorites, and then he gets killed, and he's with a white woman. Now I'm in the 8th grade, so what? In the 60s. This was not tolerated whatsoever.
Okay. Right.
It was not, it was illegal to marry a white woman.
That just seems so crazy, but
only, I think in Ohio, I think that's where my husband's parents got married, because my husband's mom is white and his dad was black, and they had to go to Ohio. I think it was Ohio was the only place you could get married if you were a black and white couple.
Wow.
So I decided that I always had that, I think, innate ability to, I don't know, I hate to say control, but be in charge. I probably, well, I'm sure I was in charge of my friends because most of them were afraid of me, but you just, there's something in you or in me, I think, that decides that you want to do things right and the right way.
Yeah.
And so, I of course I went to college in criminal justice, had some instructors that really liked me. So I did my internship with the Springfield Police Department.
I love it.
The worst experience in my life.
Is this kind of like, do you feel like this is where reality kicks in? You've got a dream. And now you're confronted with the reality
of racism.
World and racism.
Yes.
Yeah.
Racism. Okay. I'm in the car. We go to an incident in a little town called Penfield, Michigan. Okay. And the state police are there because all these little white kids are acting up, right?
Yeah.
I'm in the back of the patrol car because I'm doing my internship, and it's nighttime. And so we go to assist the state police because it's in our little town.
Right.
And the trooper says, these kids are acting just like niggas. And the officer, I'm in the back of the seat in the car, and he says to me, do not get out of this car. I don't want them to see you because it'll be a problem.
Oh my gosh.
And that was the pivotal point for me to say, the hell? Really? Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure you did not take that well.
No, I did not take it. I didn't take it well at all.
You didn't get out of the car because I know you.
Well, the problem is these people got real guns and I don't have one.
Right.
I'm students.
Yes.
And so, and I was married at the time and I had children. I got married very young. I got married in high school. I was in 11th grade when I got married, had a baby in the 12th grade, helped my husband through college. He left me with 3 kids, a 6-week-old baby, no job and no education. So a lot happened in that.
Yes.
A lot.
You know what I love about your story is you never gave in. You never quit. You just kept pushing forward. Yes. Like you said, it's the right thing to do. So I'm just going to get up. I'm going to educate myself. I'm just going to keep pushing. Like you have, I don't want to say fought, but really fought your whole life.
Yes.
To create a better world.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's interesting when you say that because my name derives from Mycheal. It's Mycheal, but it derives from Mycheal. And Mycheal was an archangel. He was a warrior. Oh. And I've always had battles. I'm a victorious. I'm a prove you wrong kind of person. If you think it's this way, I'm gonna show you it ain't that way.
Right.
So I worked at the prison.
Right. I was gonna say, let's talk about your time in prison.
So I end up in prison, right?
Right.
I'm not on the police force because they are horrible. Mm-hmm. I interview a couple of times to be a police officer, and they asked me about my sex life.
What?
Oh, they asked me questions that are illegal, but I didn't know.
Right.
So I interview for a way station officer, and they say to me, "Oh, what happens if you need to go to the grocery store? You can't go in your uniform. How would you do that?" And I'm thinking to myself, well, do they ask the men, do they gotta go to the grocery store? I don't think it's right, but hey, I'm just trying to get a job. This was me prior to me getting in with the Department of Corrections. I guess you have to go home and take your uniform off. I'm not sure. They're like, oh, yeah. I don't think you'd be able to do that. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it was so illegal what they did to me. It's unbelievable nowadays. So, of course, we'll roll ahead, and I end up calling my girlfriend and saying to her, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I got these kids. I don't know job. She says, call the guy that was in charge of the Department of Corrections. The HR person was a pastor, Bicey. She said, call Reverend Bicey. He's in charge of hiring for the department. I had scored in the top band, meaning I got 98% on the test. Right. So they couldn't eliminate me because, sorry, I happen to also be smart. Yeah. So I call him and he sets up an interview with me for the Department of Corrections. Nice. And I get hired immediately.
Yes. And what kind of job is that? Like, what is it you're going to be doing there?
A correction officer. So I'm working. That was the eye opener, girl. Whew. I walk into, this is in Michigan. Michigan had the largest wall prison in the world. In the world. It was a walled prison with 5,000 prisoners, men.
Whoa.
I don't.
How old are you at this
28 years old.
Gonna go in and be a corrections officer.
And I have no idea what that means, but I'm prouder than all get out. I got a job with the state of Michigan. I can, take care of my kids. Oh my God. Right. It was just the best thing ever, right?
Right.
Till my first day. So you go through 6 weeks of training outside, you're in a classroom, you learn to say no. Prisoners want to offer you things. You're like, oh, no. They teach you, right? How to do that. You teach you Aikido. That was a self-defense martial art to help protect you. You don't have a gun, it's you and them. And your ability to communicate to them, you mean business.
Wow.
So then, my first day on the job. So I live in a city and I have to drive 30 miles to my job.
Okay. It's a good drive.
I didn't have a car.
Oh, wow.
I didn't have a car. So I got on the website. There was you could, I forget what you call it. You could connect with someone that also worked there and you could meet them and you would ride with them. It was like a ride share program.
Right. Okay. Very cool.
I did that. And I got a ride to work.
See, you don't give up.
Then I met a girl who I could stay with during the week. I got the kids babysitted and I could stay there while I did because you had to do so many weeks before you were permanent, officer. Okay. Girl, I walk inside that penitentiary and I'm looking around and they release the men into this big yard and they're next to you. And I'm like, what the hell? What happened? I was so scared. I didn't know what to do.
I can't imagine.
This guy walks up to me and he says, I look at him. It was one of my ex-boyfriends.
Oh my God.
I'm not kidding. He walks up to me and he says, I want you out of here by the summer. I'm like, oh, okay. I don't know how I'm gonna get out of here because I gotta have a job. So he said, don't worry about it. I got you. Nobody messed with me.
Wow.
Can you imagine? You are 28 years old and you're in the midst. Well, first of all, the first reckoning was, this is where the black men are. They're in prison. The hell? It was crazy. I've never seen so many black people in my whole life in one place.
Oh my God. Okay, that's sad too.
It was sad, but statistically, there were more whites in prison then in 1982 than blacks.
Really?
Yes, statistically, yes. If all in the whole United States. Right. But there were so many black men, I just couldn't believe it. I was in awe. That's where you were. Oh my God. Like you're in college. Oh my God, hey, how you doing? It was crazy. So my first prisoner encounter was a prisoner wanted me to bring him a prenup file. Hey, just the Emory board, the paper ones, you use them, right? Well, that's your first encounter with, are you going to do? I'm like, you know me.
I do.
You done lost your mind. If you think I'm getting ready to lose my job to bring you in, hey, I don't bring anything in and I don't take nothing out. Know that. And that's how you had to be.
Yeah.
And so you build up this demeanor, which I already kind of had from elementary school.
You had a little tough girl in you.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. And actually, being through your husband leaving, you got to raise these kids, you build up that defense mechanism that enables you to just keep moving, just keep rolling, keep pushing through. And that's what happened.
Do you think it's really a defense, or do you think it's like survival mode? You go into survive. Yeah. I've got to survive. I will do whatever it takes to survive, get my kids taken care of. Yes. Yeah.
I had to survive the white men in the prison who were in charge, because I'm a Black woman in 1982 in a male prison. All of the guards, 90% of the guards officers are white. The captain tells me, you smell too nice, you look too nice, we're going to get you fired. He tells me that. Yeah. Wow. And I'm telling you, for 25 years, they worked on trying to get me fired. But they couldn't.
Kidding.
No, they did. Unimaginable. One of the young women that got a job in the prison, they killed her in the prison. Josephine. I'll never forget that. Yeah, they killed her. And of course, they blamed it on a prisoner. It wasn't. And those are you got to battle the prison. You got to battle the prisoners, and you got to battle the staff. I ended up, of course, because I ended up going to college, getting my degree, and promoting. Women sued the Department of Corrections and a class action suit that enabled us to now promote and work inside prison units.
Nice.
I was part of that class action suit. I got promoted. And I'm telling you, the battle was just beginning.
It got worse as you...
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. The higher you get, the worse it got.
Wow.
And I ended up, captain, a lieutenant, an inspector. I ended up promoting higher, but the higher I got, the worse it got. I mean, the battle was just trying. I got wrote up 21 times.
Or like what? Give me an example of something that they would write you up.
You looked at me like you were going to kill me. You said, hey, so be it.
Really?
Yes.
You got written up for that?
Yes. And suspended. Oh, yeah. It was, when you think of all of the, I think of John Lewis and Good Trouble. Okay. You don't realize you're making ways and opportunities for other people, because I ended up being a recruiter for the Department of Corrections and hiring thousands. I started, there were only 5,000. When I left, there were 25,000 employees.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
There were 10 prisons when I started and 42 when I left.
I can't even imagine.
And you are making inroads. You're digging roads for the women that are going to come, because there were very few women and very few Black women when I started. And it was horrific.
Yeah.
I mean, my husband died while I was working. He was a deputy warden.
Right.
And my deputy told me, if you buy a new car, I'm going to call the IRS on you. And why? I didn't even rush. It didn't, what is that? I had a captain who liked me, and they told him, you write her up. And he said, for what? Make something up. And he wouldn't. And they put him on midnights.
Oh my gosh.
Him and I are still friends to this day. This man said, I will not write her up for nothing.
Good for him.
But there are the captain that did. Yeah. We don't like the color of your socks. Yeah.
Anything they could. So you do this for 25, 30 years?
25 years.
25 years. I can't even imagine. I don't know that most people would have lasted a few. What do you think the average is that someone does that job?
Okay, so I had 2 daughters that I got jobs there. One is still there. She's got 23 years in, and one lasted 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there could be some longevity there. And I would imagine it's not staying in the, what would it be, where the prisoners are, but advancing yourself.
Yes, officer rank
under that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you officers. So, like prisons, I'm sure most of the viewers know about Detroit, Michigan. Detroit is 6% Black. Well, they had 2 prisons in Detroit, and those were managed by most Black officers. Right. But I worked in Ionia. If you can just say Ionia.
Ionia.
Yeah, just say Ionia was all white. It was all white town.
Wow.
And here I'm driving into, and me and a few other Black officers are driving into Ionia, KKK. Wow. And you got to put up with the city you in. You got to put up with the prison you in. Got to put up with the prisoners. Imagine that.
Workers. No.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I can't. Yeah. So your strength to me, I mean, that just says volumes about who you are and the strength that you have to just persevere, because you stayed for 25 years. Yes. You advanced the whole time. You educated yourself.
Yes.
You just continued to be a better human being.
But you get paid less. Listen, you can get paid less, treated bad, and you're just trying to do the same thing as your white counterparts. You're just trying to make a good life for yourself.
Yeah.
So imagine, for all of these years, 68 years, you've been hustling, you've been struggling, you've been pushing. Even the job that I currently have, they've been in business 35 years. I'm the first Black they've ever hired.
Mycheal Gamble and I want to say thank you. Thank you for tuning in, listening, and watching to part 1 of this 2-part series. Mycheal and I wanted to share an open and honest conversation between friends about racism, white privilege, and how we all just want to be loved and to belong to something bigger than ourselves. Join us next week for part 2 of this series on racism. You will find links in the description to connect you with systemic racism statistics, talks, and books. There are some amazing humans having difficult conversations about systemic racism and how we can work to eliminate it. Thank you again for tuning in, listening, watching. Stay safe, stay curious, and I'll see you next week.